Hello, my name is Blazkin, and welcome to my Albedo video. Well, this video is here just to talk about Albedo, his builds, his playstyle and whatnot. And of course, if you're wondering whether or not you should pull, well, hopefully this video can help you out. And that's all I gotta say. Let's just jump right into it. Alright, so I'm quite excited to jump into his builds here, because they're very interesting. Look at this. I'm using a 3-star weapon. And the reason why is because this weapon is really quite excellent on him. It will outpace pretty much every 5-star weapon in terms of damage proccing on his elemental skill. Well, the actual procs, not the placement damage. But that's because, of course, it scales off of defense. So this base attack just doesn't matter, and then the crit is just amazing. So yeah, really great. It's a 3-star weapon. Everybody has access to it. Pretty easy. So even if you miss out on Cinnabar, which is the new weapon that's coming out in this patch, which is quite literally built for Albedo, Harbinger is a great option. Of course, if you do get Cinnabar, it's going to be better for Albedo than Harbinger. And as for 5-star options, I guess you could run Freedom Sworn if you really wanted to. It's much less ideal, I would say. Alright, you're not going to be dealing as much on your procs. But maybe the buff is enough. But it is a lot more awkward to proc this compared to Kazuha, right? It's really your decision. In any case, Harbinger is an amazing option, and Cinnabar, the new weapon coming out, is really good, of course. Artifacts. Here's where things get really funny. I'm literally running random pieces on him, Random pieces with just good stats for him, right? Like, here's the thing about Albedo that makes him so great. You can throw like your garbage pieces that you could like never actually use, right? Like all these like defense pieces, right? They're just good on him. He converts all your garbage pieces into really usable pieces. So you can just throw random pieces on him and his E will hit really hard. Of course, if you're going for a more ideal build, Husk of Opulent Dreams is of course going to be the new best set on him, without a doubt. And, that's going to be fine. But I mean, if you're farming for other characters and you just happen to have garbage pieces that have defense, I mean, you can just throw onto Albedo and it's going to be really good. Talking about substats and main stats here. Of course, this is going to be defense, here, geo damage, of course. And there's going to be a lot of people talking about defense on your circlet, which is, really good on him actually, but of course, if you have a really good crit circlet, it's going to, in the long run, outpace a defense circlet. Of course, this is talking about very, very idealized substats, and especially with a new weapon that actually gives additional defense, there's going to be more value in the crit than the defense. But yeah, I mean, Harbinger, it's close. If you're using Cinnabar, however, you should definitely go crit, of course. Talent priority, of course. If you're going with like Harbinger of Dawn or the 4-star weapon as well, actually, everything's going to be on defense, so there's no real point in leveling up these too far. I would always level up this to 6, but it's not going to be dealing damage unless you have C2. But yeah, I mean, the placement damage is going to be pretty bad, but of course, all of the actual transient blossom damage, which is the proc when your character hits an enemy, this is going to be huge because it's all defense. Your attack stat doesn't matter at all. Yeah, it's really, really, really good. So I think Albedo has a lot of great upsides to talk about. He has a lot of off-field damage, like a lot. He can hit very hard off-field. His transient blossoms, yeah, they hit really hard. So, that's great. They have really good AoE. They have pretty decent particle generation. Not amazing, but quite decent. So, yeah, great upsides. So, I mean, running him in this Eula comp, of course, is very effective. Geo has one problem. It eats reactions, right? And in the second team, you'll definitely see that, but in this team, it's irrelevant because, you're not going to miss Super Inducts with Geo. So it works very well for these teams. If you, have reactions where the Geo's not going to interfere, or you just don't really run reactions, then Albedo's great. Running Albedo plus Zhongli is amazing. I think that combination is truly excellent. It's very strong. Geo Resonance is very good, Zhongli is very good, and of course Albedo really does a great job at providing Zhongli with some extra energy. There's going to be a lot of off-field damage and very good AoE damage. So yeah, it works out very well. this team is very effective. I will go ahead and mention that the first Transient Blossom damage proc is immediately after the E is placed. So because of that, if you really wanted to, you could really maximize his E by making sure that you proc a Transient Blossom right before you place it down, and then replace it, so that you can immediately basically cancel that cooldown and get a second Blossom Pop quite quickly. So that's a little bit of a trick you can do. I don't think it's really anything that you should focus too much on. It's a very small damage increase for your team. It's really not going to be that relevant. But you know, if you really needed to squish out that extra tiny bit of damage, hey, there it is. Very try hard, honestly. It's not going to do very much, but it might help somebody here and there, so just thought I'd mention that. Another thing to note is that if you're running him with a low base attack weapon, and you know, you're just focusing all on defense just to get that Transient Blossom proc up, his damage on his burst is pretty underwhelming. So it's probably a pretty good idea just to skip out on his burst a lot of the time, because it's just, you know, extra animation time, extra fuel time that he's taking up that your DPS could be using. But you know, that's for you to decide. It depends on the team. There's a lot of complicated, you know, ideas that go behind that. But you know, you just have to understand how your team functions. And of course, if you do have C2, then what I'm saying is kind of irrelevant. But you know, that's if you have C2. So the important thing to note about Albedo and reactions is elemental gauge. So of course, I'm not going to go too much into elemental gauge, but essentially it's how much of an element is applied. And this is most relevant, of course, with amp reactions, so Vape and, of course, Melt. So Albedo, he applies like half Geo or something. Zhongli's a lot worse because he's a 1 full Geo application. But basically, if you have very specific elemental gauges with your reaction character as well as your application character, then Albedo could actually screw it up. But it'd have to be very close, and that's generally speaking rarely the case. So you know, definitely watch out for that. You can just go ahead and test on your own with just dropping an Albedo E and then trying to react and seeing if you can just react consistently. And yeah, that's about it really with him messing up elemental reactions. And of course, if you're running a freeze comp, don't run like Geo because Shatter is complete garbage. And that's it. I think Albedo otherwise is fine for reactions, but definitely watch out for that elemental gauge depending on the type of reaction you're doing. Alright, so let me go ahead and mention this. Albedo deals a lot of AoE damage off field. So it's interesting to look at him in the context of characters like Hu Tao and Yoimiya, who are generally single target DPSs, and he can provide a little bit of AoE for them. And it works out pretty well, actually. It's actually a really nice little extra damage that you're going to be dealing in an area, which, well, can really help out in a lot of scenarios. So it's really nice, it's really effective. So if you're running single target DPSs, you can definitely look at Albedo as a little bit of a AoE damage source. It's not amazing or anything, you know, it's not going to carry you, but it will help out for sure. I definitely personally noticed a difference. I'm not sure if the numbers back it up, but just by a feeling sort of type of deal, it definitely helps out. It's really nice. So, of course, I'm sure everybody has said it already. The real reason you pull for Albedo is if you're running Itto. Albedo is a really great addition to that team. You're going to need 3 Geo. Of course, Gorou and Itto are probably going to be the first 2. The third one, you might choose Zhongli. I think there's reasons not to. You know, his energy generation is worse than Albedo's. Is really the big one. I think you really need the energy generation, honestly. So, you know, definitely keep that in mind. Of course, Albedo does have slightly RNG energy generation, so you do have to worry about that, but generally speaking, it's pretty solid. And outside of that, of course, if you're pulling for Itto and you can't pull for Albedo, I mean, you should definitely pull for Itto, not Albedo, of course. I think Albedo's probably a pretty polarizing character. I think a lot of people tend to write him off and not say he's too strong. I think he has a lot of value, honestly. There's a lot of comps that he works on, but I think you do have to specifically be a Geo player for him to be excellent. So, if you don't play any Geo, you're, running Animo Shred and all these reaction comps, I don't think Albedo is going to help you at all. So, wouldn't recommend him if you're doing that. But if you are running Geo, man, Albedo is a great addition. He's going to be really good. So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Albedo. He's a Geo dude. He goes with other Geo dudes. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, do the normal thing. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.